In the upcoming race for San Diego Mayor, City Councilman Carl DeMaio and State Assemblyman Nathan Fletcher lead the pack in raising money. DeMaio has raised $1.26 million, $1.25 million, including $456,000 of his own money. Fletcher follows with nearly $1,963,000. District Attorney Bonnie Dumanis is in third place with $601,000, and the lone Democrat in the race, Representative Bob Filner, has raised $321,000, with over $37,000 of that coming from the local Democratic Party. Now, DeMaio has received the Republican endorsement, but hasn't collected any money just yet. All right, let's get to our political analyst, John Dadian, who joins us here this morning and break some of this down here. I just don't remember in the past talking much about fundraising in local races. On the national level, we do because they're raising, hundreds of millions of dollars. But locally, we're hitting that $1 million mark now with Carl DeMaio going to $1.25 million. But what's going on here? I mean, can the average person afford to run for office anymore?
Well, you've heard me use this famous quote in history: $1 million here, $1 million there. Pretty soon, we're talking about real money.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
This mayor's race is breaking all records for local races, et cether.
So you figured out why I'm not running for office, apparently.
I did, both because you don't want to spend $1 million and your wife won't let you spend $1 million.
Exactly right. You see, I have political cover there.
And keep in mind also, to put this in perspective, the City of San Diego regulations are one of the most stringent in the country as far as it has to be $500 maximum and personal checks. So, for example, companies can't give. Now, they can give to the parties, and that's a whole different regulation.
All right. Where does this race stand right now? Because we've got all the filing is done. 13 people filed, but not everybody qualified, apparently.
Right. When I was on last week, that was a big announcement. The 13 had actually made the filing deadline. But then once that happens, then they look at, are you qualified? Things such as residency, but really why most of them, the 8, did not qualify is they did not get enough signatures. You have to get at least 200. 200 of your fellow citizens have to say, yeah, I'd like to have this guy run for mayor. And 8 people couldn't even get that threshold. So it's a total of 5, 4 of the top tier, and then an additional candidate.
Okay, so this is going to boil down in the end to 2 candidates in a runoff. And we always realistically, yeah, we think it's always supposed to be a nonpartisan race, but there's only one Democrat in here, and he may, in fact, be one of the front runners in the end. Which is why on these campaign finance reports, there's some very interesting things that I look at, both below the lines, et cetera, is I don't know what Bob Filner's spending his money on because he didn't raise that much and then he's spending most of it. So those I think are some concerns. Maybe he's depending on the party that's going to come through, but I hope he doesn't wake up on June 6th and have a surprise where he comes in third. So I think that's a concern. Most of these candidates, especially the 2 top fundraisers, Fletcher and DeMaio, they raise a ton of cash and they haven't spent the majority of it yet. That's when you're going to see the race tighten up, when they start spending it on what we call voter contact. Okay. Well, that's the local race right now going on. Anything else you want to cover on that before we move nationally? Well, now it's off and running. Now for the next 90 days, this is when it's going to get intense, and you'll start seeing the direct mail and the TV ads coming very soon. Okay. Let's talk about the Republican race for the nomination right now for president. Has it gotten to the point now where everything that could possibly be said has been said, and now we're looking for little things like a children's toy reference and trying to make a campaign issue out of that? Well, no, I think that is a big issue because, again, the two of the major candidates have had gaffes this week that I just couldn't believe. The toy reference, of course, referring to is Romney's. One of his political advisors said he's the Etch-a-Sketch candidate. I got to tell you, that's going to come back to haunt him in the general. Well, but what he was saying was when you go from the nominating process to the actually running in the end, whoever gets the nomination, that it's a reset and you start over again, basically. Was he really saying he's going to be a different candidate, or it's just you reset and start again? Which I didn't find anything wrong with that. In politics, perception becomes reality, and he said it about his candidate, but he said it about a candidate who has a reputation for flip-flopping. He said it about a candidate who has a reputation for clearing the slate and saying what I meant to say before. That's why it wouldn't have been that bad if it would have been Newt Gingrich's political advisor, the fact that it was Romney's. But then we had Santorum this week, unbelievably, running for the Republican nomination, saying Obama might be preferable than Romney. That's well, and as Heather said, I guess we can rule out a Romney-Santorum ticket now, should Romney get the nomination. 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have ruled it out. I think now Heather's correct. Okay. Political analyst John Dadian, always great to see you. Thanks for coming in, and we'll get updated with you again next week. Very good. All right.